Hey guys, it's Kwana back again with another review, and this time I am coming to you to talk all about Bird Box from Netflix. So let's dig in. Like many of you, I watched this about 2 or 3 days before Christmas, staying up late wrapping gifts, and then couldn't wind down. And so I was like, okay, let me look on my phone to see what's up. And lo and behold, Bird Box had dropped. So I'd seen the trailer for it, and at first I really hadn't planned on watching this film. I'm not a big scary movie fan, and I didn't know if this was going to be more of a scary film or a thriller. And let's be honest, as much as I love Sandra Bullock, especially in a good comedy, sometimes her acting skills can be a little and so I really wasn't sure if I was going to watch it, but I decided to give it a click, and I'm so glad that I did. Netflix, you guys really did a good job with this release. This acquisition was a good one. You've got to had a couple of floppers, especially with how it ends. I'm not going to let you live that one down anytime soon, so you got to get at least 2 more good releases in the film verse before I can let that one go. But just before I get into spoilers for the film, so the film is about this woman named Mallory who is dealing with the end of the world, and she is going to be making a treacherous journey with her 2 kids, and they're headed to some compound or some community that this guy on the radio is telling him that they have, and she's going to be going there. Ooh, don't want you to see my junky kitchen. Here, we'll come this way and let you see my little mini tree. And she's going to be going there and with her 2 kids, and he's telling her he doesn't think that they could make it with kids, but she's obviously got no choice, and so she's kind of like going to be making this journey. But the film deals with flashbacks of the event and how it started. I'm sorry for the shakiness, guys. Okay. And how she makes the journey from trying to get to this community. So that's the premise of the film. Now, it stars Sandra Bullock, it stars Trevante Rhodes, John Malkovich, Little Rel Howery, along with Sarah Paulson is in it. So it's a star-studded event. It is one of their bigger releases in terms of the actors involved in the project. And I would definitely say that I would give this one a big 2 thumbs up. If I was dealing with stars, a good 3.5 stars. This is definitely more in the realm of a film that could have been a major movie release. And although I probably wouldn't have gone and seen it simply because I pretty much save all of my movie going for Marvel releases or really big independent projects that I plan to support because I have to get childcare for it or go see it on a day off when the kids are at daycare. So although I might have gone and seen it, the film, it certainly was worthy of that. So let me not lie to you guys and say that I would go see it, but if I had the means to see it, I would have seen it in the film, in the cinema. All right, so that is my review prior to spoilers. Now, here we go to the spoilers. So in the film, you have this woman named Mallory who is an artist, and she's pregnant by this guy who has left her, and she has really become disconnected and disengaged from society. In fact, the painting that she's painting is this picture of these people who are all together, but they're all disconnected. None of them are actually looking at each other, and they all seem very miserable. On this particular day, she's got an OB visit to go, and I kind of thought that they were going to find out the sex of the baby, but they never disclosed it. And of course, it was probably disclosed to her, but we, the viewers, don't see it because it is kind of a reveal later on in the film. And her sister, played by Sarah Paulson, is going to take her to her appointment, and then she wants her sister to come with her to go check out this horse because they grew up kind of like on a ranch, knowing about horses and survivalists, and so that's kind of like giving us the premise for how she's able to survive in this world. Her sister tells her about there's this event going on where it's happening in Europe, and it starts in Romania where these people are committing mass suicides, and by the time they leave the doctor's office, it's there's this woman who they saw who was very happy when they walked in. She's banging her head on the glass and trying to commit suicide. Um, then her sister and her decide to flee. Her sister's like, no, you're going to come with me. And in the process of this, whatever the monsters or the creatures or whatever's causing this phenomenon happens to the sister, and she commits suicide. First by trying to crash the car, and then when that doesn't work, she walks in front of a big truck and splats. I mean, it was like really, you knew it was coming, but there was still the shock value involved in that. So then she gets kind of rescued by this lady named Lydia, but the lady herself ends up seeing the creatures or whatever the event is that causes her to commit suicide. She walks into this burning car, and the woman ends up getting rescued by Trevante Rhodes' character, whose name is Tom. And I'm not going to remember the lady who plays, who's the police officer in it, but they both make it to this house with B.D. Wong inside and with John Malkovich inside playing Douglas. And so they're all trapped in here together trying to determine that the rules of this new world. And so the rules of this new world are simply as follows. If you see it, it makes you commit suicide. And so along the way, they're learning the rules of this. But to me, the main thematic things can be found in the beginning and the end of the film. So they go through this journey of trying to save themselves. Nothing works. They end up letting this lady named Olympia, who is played by the actress who plays Dumplin in the other Netflix. Also a decent film. Dumplin. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's cute. But Dumpling comes into the house and she's pregnant, and she's all like, oh, I'm so pregnant and my husband has gone away at war, and let's be close together. But there were several things that were so wrong about her. I mean, she's just so naive and so gullible and just so not prepared for this world that you knew she was going to die anyway. She also is pregnant. She kind of begins to cleave to Mallory's character, Sandra Bullock's character, Mallory. Oh, we need to be together. Pregnant women need to be together because if we get lonely, the baby can sense it. But I'm going to throw this out to you and say this, that there's something interesting about her character because she claims she wants to be close to these people, and yet she never seeks them out before she lets this other guy named Gary in. Now, fast forward, B.D. Wong's character seems to think that they're going to be able to survive by seeing the creatures on technology. That doesn't work. He dies. Then they go to this Little Rell's character. Charlie is a clerk at a supermarket, and he's like, oh yeah, I locked up the supermarket, let's go. And he doesn't want to go, but he's going to go. He's writing a book. He's the one who knows all about this world, and so he tells them about the creatures that are basically going to end them. They go to the supermarket, and Little Rell's character dies while there. They go back. Then the cop and MGK, Machine Gun Kelly's character, Felix, I think is his name, they run off to probably go to the supermarket to survive. And then Olympia's character, Dumplin, lets this guy named Gary in who is psychotic, and you can kind of sense he's psychotic from the get. But interestingly enough, he's not psychotic in the same way that the guy who was trying to capsize the boat was. He actually has full conversations with them. He doesn't appear crazy on the onset, and so it begs the question of whether or not he witnessed the creatures while he was there in the house, or was he already crazy, or did it slowly make him crazy? And I say that because he's very lucid, and there's that whole sequence where they're playing Dionne Warwick singing "I Say a Little Prayer for You," which completely took me into this scene here from My Best Friend's Wedding. And then there's just so much more conversation that takes place. And so it was really interesting to me because when he kind of discloses that there's something about people who are psychotic that makes them see the creatures as beautiful. And it makes me think about something about their brains not being wired correctly, that they're seeing the creatures as beautiful instead of terrible. And are they able to then, aside from the fact that they feel this compelling sense of showing other people the creatures, do they have regular conversations? Like, do they live the rest of their lives out? Would they be able to live their lives out seemingly without harming themselves? So that's an interesting question that I think begs to be answered just simply because of the insertion of Gary, and also the fact that they're driving around. So there's a certain amount of, there's a moment where they're extremely crazy, but then there's these moments where they're extremely lucid. And so, and obviously it seems like he was almost plotting the perfect moment to expose them to the creatures. So anyway, he kills everybody in the house, and then Tom survives, and Tom takes him out. And let's just say, Trevante Rhodes, that is an acting man right there. I completely believed that he was all about some Sandra Bullock's character. Like, he really sold me on this idea of him really being in love with her. It was just so very interesting. And so anyway, she gives birth, Olympia gives birth, Olympia dies, and she then has to raise the two children as though they were her own. And she doesn't give them names. They're simply called boy and girl. We see montages of them training, but she doesn't seem extremely close to them. But while we're sleeping, we do see her like staring at them while they're sleeping. And it's very evident that her driving motivation is staying alive and making sure that they stay alive. She does seem to have conversations. She falls in love with Tom. They have a very semi-normal type of relationship. She and Tom are training the children to survive, and they get this radio call from this guy named Rick. Not that Rick, but this other guy named Rick. And he has this compound, and he tells them they have to come down the river. And then they're on a run to get supplies when they get some of the crazies that come, and they end up eventually trying to attack them. And Tom ends up taking them out, but because he has to see to take them out, he ends up getting exposed to the creatures and commits suicide and dies. And oh my gosh, that moment just like broke my heart, because he was the most likable character. Here we go. Sorry for the focusing issues. Focus on me. Baby, can you focus on me? Okay, there we go. So I don't know if this is a bit better, but we'll try. So anyhow, she eventually just follows Tom's directions to try to make the journey without him, now that he's dead. And so she has to tell the children, you've got to listen to me, do exactly as I said, we'll make it downriver. And when they finally make it to Rick's compound, it is a school for the blind. And there's this very beautiful moment. I don't know if anybody else caught it but me. I'm sure you did. But I noticed that what she's finally seeing is people connecting. And so what I thought was very interesting was that none of the survivors who were in that house ever truly connected with each other. Tom tried to connect with her, and he survived the longest because of his connection to her. But and that probably kept her alive to a certain extent. But as he tried to tell her, life isn't just about survival, at least as humans. Our lives are not just about survival, they're also about the connections that we make. That's what makes us humans. And so it was very important that at the end we saw that those individuals who had all survived were making connections to each other. She ends by giving the kids names, Olympia and Tom, to suggest that they now have hope for the future. People have been asking for a second movie. I don't think that there's going to be a second movie. There doesn't need to be. This is not one of those films that we need to find out what happens. You know what happens. Either the world is going to all end, or they'll start over, and the monsters, they'll figure out a way to, and there'll be a new world where they survive without the monsters. So that's my take on the film. I thought it was a great film. I thought it was very interesting. So many great themes involved with it. I want to do a breakdown video of each of the characters and what they kind of symbolize in my mind. But I hope you guys check it out if you haven't already. Bird Box on Netflix. I thought it was a great film. I watched it 2.5 times. I'm going to probably watch it some more. It's definitely a film that you can come back to again and again, which that's the quality of a good film. Right? A good film is a film that you can watch more than once. So until next time, guys, toodles.